We officially kicked over. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with who's joined us already. Thank you, Brett and Gina, and Allison. I'm not going to thank you because you have to be here. So anyways, thank you guys for joining us. Hopefully you got the meeting notes that I sent to everyone. It's funny, one of the definite objectives of moving to quarterly was to have more to talk about, and that obviously is the case. That definitely has worked out. As I was typing up these notes yesterday, I thought, wow, there's a lot that happens in 3 months with us. So I'll try to keep it reasonably brief, but get through everything that are in the notes. And I am recording this, so we are recording it. We'll make it available to everyone within a few days. But if you have any questions, feel free to just stop me at any point. Normally, I try to mute everyone so we can keep moving. So for today, I'll keep it live. And so if anybody has any questions, you can just stop me as we go along. But let's just dive into the meeting notes I have shared on my screen. Hopefully you can see them. If you can't, let me know. First off, we did send out all the second quarter commissions. We're actually on schedule the last couple of quarters, which is great. We did find we had one glitch in our system that didn't affect the net pay to everyone, but one of the associates pointed out in their associate dashboard they weren't seeing a couple of people of actually them being commissioned for them. So our engineers did do a patch, and my fear was, because I thought I was being extra on top of it. I was on vacation last week actually, and I did it a couple of days just to make sure I got it done. But good news was, after they released the patch, it made everything viewable, and I went back and double checked all the totals, and the totals were actually right. So what we sent to you is accurate. And if you do happen to look at your associate dashboard, you'll be able to see all the people that you're being commissioned for on your account. Second one, our monthly newsletter. I'm assuming all of you are receiving it or getting the email. I know you got probably a lot of stuff from different people these days, but Allison's actually been doing a fantastic job. The newsletters are very good. We continue to have a very high click-through percentage that we're pretty happy about, because that, of course, confirms that people trust us, and two, that it's got some good information in it. So those continue to do very well. We just started it, a few months ago, and again, Allison's been doing a fantastic job of that. We do now have 2 regular contributors. In other words, they do articles every single month, and that's Seth David, who many of you know of, and now Matthew Fulton also, who's become very much a business friend of our company of Qbox, and just a good friend in general. We really would like to be more diligent, consistent in having what we would call maybe an associate corner article. But of course, that would require that some of you would start pinging us, letting us know, hey, I got a paragraph or 2 that I've written about some topic, or maybe your own firm or practice, that we can include in the next month's newsletter. So we wanted to throw that out just as kind of a general mention, and we'll probably try to email everyone and just solicit to get any feedback or articles you'd like us to include in the future, because we would like you to be included in sending that out. Now, currently, the newsletter goes out. Our current user base is just under 37,000. By next month, I'm sure we'll be over that number. So it's a good introduction for you to a whole bunch of folks. So if you have something you'd like us to include, please send that to us. Desktop time summary. Thank you very much to all of you that are able to join us each month for desktop time. We work pretty hard to make sure we get good folks that are interested, interesting to hear, and demonstrating interesting products. This past couple of months, we had a slightly different bent to it. We in June actually broadcast live from Scaling New Heights, which again, thank you to Matthew Fulton and also Linda Artisani. It was a lot of fun. If you happen to watch it live or since then, it was a lot of fun. We had some, Matthew, of course, being Mr. Technology, was out talking to folks, and he brought some to us, but we had some good participation from different vendors and pro advisors that were there at the conference. So it went very well, just, as good or better than we would have expected. And then July, we just had our July desktop time. We had MB Raimondi and a couple of folks from Bill and Pay do a demo of their product. And next month, we already have scheduled. Seth David's going to be the guest host, and we're going to have Cheryl McGrath back from Qbox. And those of you who are not familiar with Qbox, they provide the field service product for Intuit. So she'll be introducing that product in her demonstration. One thing just to throw out to you, a couple of scheduling things. In September, the last 2 years, we've had our Taste of Qbox webinar. So we usually like to get a few or any of you that are interested to join us for that webinar. We, tend to just, spend that time introducing Qbox and talking about what it is and introducing it to folks. So it's usually, it's not a huge commitment. We appreciate anybody's participation that joins us and just gives you a great, chance to also be introduced to the group that watch Desktop Time and to talk about Qbox. So if you're interested and you're going to be available on that date in September, which I don't have in front of me, feel free to shoot me or Allison an email. And again, that'll be something we'll solicit you guys for as well. And also, just as I mentioned, we are looking for guest hosts for October and for December Desktop Time. We don't usually have one in November. So we already have vendors for both months. In October, it'll be Fishbowl Inventory, which a lot of you are familiar with. And then in December, it'll be ZenWorks. They'll be demoing their Tax 1099 product. So if you happen to be available and you're interested in being a guest host for either one of those months as well, we'd welcome your participation. And just so you know, I've talked about this for a few months. Our live attendance is not what we'd hoped it to be. We actually, the first year or so, we got as high as 80 to 100 plus people that would participate live. And we've also added Facebook Live, thanks to help from Matthew Fulton. But our live attendance has continued to drop month by month. On a good month, we'll average like maybe 40 to 60 live folks. And then, we actually have about 800 people registered in the Desktop Time, Zoom webinar function. So what we've been talking about and working on was that we wanted to start adding CPE credits because we thought that would, bring more people that would be, interested in participating, but of course also interested in their continuing ed credit. So I had started the process a year ago and found out that it was pretty expensive and just not something. We're not an education company. That was just something we wanted to do for Desktop Time. So came up with the idea to approach Latino tax pros because they are in the education business and we have a good, synergistic relationship with them. So they immediately said they were interested. We just, had a lot going on ourselves and them also with the conference this next week. But bottom line is they are willing to provide CPE credits. So we're going to be talking with them over the next few weeks about how we're going to administer that and make it available. And the goal is that we'll launch that probably in the October timeframe is what I'm expecting. So look for that in the future. We'll, again, be promoting, of course, to people that now if they participate in Desktop Time, they can also earn at least one CPE credit each time. So hopefully that's going to help our live attendance start to grow again. Because I've just seen with forums like the Power Hour where, his attendance is significantly higher. Although his registered users is not too much higher than ours, but the live participants is always higher, and I do believe it's because of the continuing ed units that are available. So that is something we're hoping to have available by the end of September. Scaling New Heights debrief, just for those of you that maybe weren't able to join us this year in Salt Lake City. For us, it was a great show. It's always a little different for us. We're not quite. We go there with what we think our objectives and agendas are, and it's always a very positive situation. And this year, very much again the same. I mean, we're so grateful to all of you for helping to grow this brand, and for us, in fact, we had one of our engineers that joined us this year, and he afterwards said, wow, what a great experience. Because if we don't have people coming to learn about it, we have other people coming up to tell us how much it's helped them out or how much they love Qbox. And literally, we always laugh, Alice and I especially, that inevitably we'll have someone come up and start asking about it, and some other user will just come up and literally almost push us aside and say, hey, let me tell them about why it's a great product. So it's just always a very fun, positive experience for us and just confirms that, we do have a positive brand image. We actually have interesting experience this year where we actually had some other vendors that are all of a sudden curious about us just because we're feeling that more folks are taking us seriously, which is kind of a good feeling because we've tried to maintain the same personality of our product, and so we're glad they're acknowledging that now, or someone's telling them about it. So anyways, the show is a success. We don't think actually we maybe had the same level of foot traffic we had at Scaling even last year, but overall the interest is great. The The vendor relationships established were positive. So the show was a success for us. And again, I want to thank those associates that actually worked in the booth. The ones that helped us out were just very helpful, very invaluable, did an outstanding job, and we can't thank you enough and really appreciate your participation. That was a huge help for us. So thank you to those folks that helped us out. Our next conference, which is new for us this year, is actually starting this next Tuesday, a week from today, the Latino Tax Fest. I'm very excited about this show because it's kind of an interesting show. The attendance is 2 to 3 times higher than what scaling is, and it's a group of folks that aren't as technology savvy as other conferences we're used to. So, in really evaluating the demographics, we think we have a great captive audience that'll be interested not only in a product like Qbox, but other cloud-based products. So we're expecting very big things. We have for us, a large-sized booth. We're going to be right by the entrance. We're going to have more staffing than we've ever had at a conference. So we really are expecting, a good response. And interestingly enough, I've established a relationship with these guys. I've been more, I think, I've been as much an evangelist for their show as maybe they have. And so it's been an enjoyable experience. And we're kind of anxious to see how it's actually going to pan out for us. So if you happen to be going, we'd love for you to drop by and say hello. We're going to be right by one of the main entrance doors. We're going to have a group of about 7 or 8 of us this year. So, if you're going to be around, we definitely would love to have you stop by and say hi and maybe pick up some of our junk we're giving away. So, anyway, so again, that's going to be a new show for us this year, and it does happen to be just this next week. I personally will be heading down this weekend to Las Vegas, and the rest of the team will be coming on Sunday and Monday. So, Woodard Alliance. I don't know if any of you have been hearing about our new affiliation with the Woodard Alliance program. This actually happened very quickly and not too long before Scaling New Heights. I think interesting the way the timing is. I don't know what Joe's actual evaluation of it. He's a very intelligent man, of course, but he reached out to me about a month before scaling, asking, "Hey, would we be interested in, being part of an offering for their new Alliance program?" And so, we very quickly, over a couple of days, kind of, went back and forth about how it could possibly, be implemented for us and participated in. And so bottom line is we were announced at Scaling as, a product that is part of their Alliance program. At least it's included for their initial signing up. They essentially get a folder the first year for free. And then after that, the second year, if they have 10 or folder, their 11th would be free. So, for us, we had to do some engineering on the back end to figure out how we're going to manage it, but we think we have our arms around that. So more than anything, of course, Joe's pitch was that, it would be increased exposure of our brand to a large number of folks, which we, believe that made sense. And we're of course tracking it and seeing exactly what that means in the way of the users. And we're optimistic. It's, so far it's been kind of a gradual thing, but we are expecting that we'll, see increased number of folks that are being introduced to Qbox via the Woodard Alliance program. And for those of you that aren't familiar, within the Alliance, they actually have 2 levels. They have just the base Alliance program, which essentially gets you some additional resources like Qbox and gets you discounts on like scaling next year. And then they have their enterprise program that's like $70 to $80 a month, and that actually pays for your participation in scaling each year and gets you a whole bunch of other resources and things available to you. So from a cost perspective, it actually pays for itself. Either one does. So, and again, we've done nothing in the way of promoting that program. We just made ourselves available, and we're introduced at Scaling as being part of the Alliance program. So, and we're not paying commissions to Woodard. So we didn't, we really, again, we work extremely hard and not stepping on toes or biting hands that have, fed us or helped us out. So that was important to me personally to make sure that I could tell the associates this isn't a competitive situation. We're not trying to, take commissions from one place and send them to another. So we are not paying commissions to Woodard for this. It solely is a branding exercise for us. So you have the same opportunity to introduce folks to Qbox through your associate URLs. Associate contest update. So the associate contest we initiated actually in the last Q2 call. You should have the contest rules in your associate folder. If you don't, feel free to reach out to Allison or I, and we'll send you the information. You know, for kind of a request or, you know, something we'd like to throw out. We know Qbox, because it's a reasonable product cost-wise to users, we don't, you know, have a whole lot of commission available to pay. We pay a percentage that's commensurate with our vendor peers, but, you know, as I joke with people when they're considering it, we pay a good percentage of a small amount. So that's why we try to do these contests. We want, you know, something to make it a little more interesting for all of you during the year. And we want you to, you know, have the opportunity to make some more money than, you know, the commissions we're able to pay. So long story short, we'd love for you, you know, more of you, of course, to take advantage of it, which of course means you're promoting Qbox. And I don't have the exact results here. Actually, Allison sent them to me the same day after I did these notes. But if you're interested in how you're doing yourself, or if you want to revisit how you can, you know, potentially earn more points, because essentially it's going to lead up to a drawing like we've done in other contests. And we're you know, the prizes are not huge, but they're not small. I think the first place is $500 and $300, something like that. So we'd love for you to be included in that drawing that we're going to do in a few months here. So if you have any questions about the program or the contest, or you just like to get more of the parameters, feel free to reach out to Allison or I, and we'd be happy to send you a copy of that. So last but not least, moving along pretty well here. So in our monthly newsletter, we're trying to let users know about any changes to the Qbox product. And one of the most significant ones, and I'm jokingly looking to see if she's in the call, but she's not, because I jokingly, she teased me about this forever, Misha, and I'm recording, by the way. But bottom line is we did release something called FastSync. And what that essentially means is they've been working on this engineering for a few years, and they've been very hesitant about releasing it to the masses because it is an actual, it's a different sync process. But the good news is, if you have the right situation, it can literally speed up your syncing by 2 to 3 times. We didn't make it globally available to all users because we know there would be folks that had marginal computers and or marginal internet. And so we didn't want them to click to initiate FastSync and then be mad and say, hey, it didn't work for me. So bottom line is we're releasing it to folks that are, you know, that we've talked to about it. We're releasing it on a case-by-case basis. So if you're someone that has had sync times you'd like to improve, and you feel confident you have, you know, internet speeds of at least, you know, 5 megabits per second down and up, and a decent, you know, usually it's probably going to be like a Windows 10 or newer, which I guess the new one's coming out. Feel free to reach out to any one of us on our support team, and we can include you in that FastSync, which it's already been enabled for some of you, I know, and you've been using it. So haven't heard specifically. I've heard from some folks about how it has improved and sped up their sync times, but if you're interested in that, feel free to reach out to even myself or to our support team, and we can initiate that for your users. We're getting more and more attention from cloud hosting companies and vendors in general right now. And I think, you know, the general perception is desktop's not going away anytime soon. Some of you probably heard about this whole in-sync fiasco last week that they're still struggling with, actually. But the reality is desktop is, you know, really growing its own legs, and people have kind of made their statement that the ones that want to stay on desktop or want to do hosted, they're not going to budge into a SaaS product. So Intuit's still, you know, very cleverly trying to come up with different ways to entice them to do that. But the reality is, you know, we feel very confident we're back to that 7 to 10 year runway for desktop. So we always try to do the best we can to evaluate what's happening in the market, and continue to evaluate even hosted companies. And based on feedback we get directly from them, from shows, from users, you know, we try to stay abreast of things as best we can, while of course also monitoring Intuit and what they're doing with their desktop product. So right now, again, it's hard to believe we don't have a 7 to 10 year runway ahead of us, and desktop, you know, the folks that are entrenched with desktop, that's where they want to be. So we have already paid for our booth. We're reserved for QB Connect. You know, some of you heard my funny stories the past few years. We're not sure how welcome we are, but we've got our booth. We'll be in what they call a silver level booth, which price went up significantly this year, but same level and size space that we were in last year. If you happen to visit us last year, we'll be on the main showroom floor. So we're looking forward to being there. Some of you may have heard me joke about a certain individual business friend who I've talked about already, casually mentioned the QB Grand Prix last year, which is essentially, if you see those pay scooters all over the big cities now, I joked last year that, gosh, we should have a QB Grand Prix where we have some sort of organized scooter race. And it's taken on a life of its own. It's grown legs, it's gotten bigger and more pronounced every month. So bottom line is there's going to be some sort of QB Grand Prix this year. So we're working out the details, and actually now Intuit's involved, and they're having their public relations person to help us out as well. So there will be some sort of QB Grand Prix this year. We don't have much more details at the moment, other than I'm kind of working on getting the city to work with us and make sure it's sanctioned appropriately. So, but we'll have more information as it's available, probably at the very latest by our next associate call. So, this is kind of a general final statement. Let us know how we can help you as associates to grow in your knowledge of Qbox and increase, how you're representing us. I'm always extremely grateful. I can't tell you the number of times I've gone into certain chats and I'll see someone that, asks a question about, a Qbox-like solution and to see, different associate jump in and talk about how it's a positive product, it'll help them out. So, to me, that's just invaluable to know that you're out there, you're our team that are, positively representing our product. I just can't thank you enough for that. And interestingly enough, at scaling, I sat next to someone, I won't put her on the spot here, but she was giving me just earfuls of great suggestions. And one of those things she talked about that I just fully believe in is we need to have some sort of certification program, which because we're in conference season, haven't really put a lot of energy into yet. But the goal is that we will have some sort of certification program for you as associates. So basically, we're just doing a better job of equipping you, to have an understanding of how exactly it works and what resources are available. And so we can give you more tools and make you more comfortable in introducing it to your client base at the very least. So that also will be something we'll be talking about more in the future. So with that being said, and me just pontificating through this very lengthy notes, at this point I'll go ahead and open it up for discussions or comments. If anybody has any questions, everyone's already unmuted, so I'm not going to give you your usual countdown to when we go live. So at this moment, I'll just go ahead and open it up. If anybody has any questions they'd like to talk to me about or to the group, we'll go ahead and do that at this point. Someone has to at least ask one question, so I'm sure you're all alive and you can hear me.
You've been so thorough.
Oh, oh gosh. See, if you were my wife would say, "You're so thorough." That to me, I understand. That means you talk so damn much. Like that would be my interpretation. Anyways, I'm kidding.
Chris, one thing I wanted to know. I haven't come to these meetings in a long time, but I wanted to know: is there when you have a webinar where you show people how exactly Qbox works? Because I run into sometimes I come across some CPAs that I have to share the file with. They've never heard of Qbox.
Okay. Yeah, and we
people that have never heard of Qbox.
Yeah, so it's funny. I know that's you, Yvette. I can tell your voice. So we normally, it's funny. I always joke with people. It's a blessing and a curse to have someone say, "Oh, this product's great, but we've never heard of you before." And so that's something we work on. In fact, we're also in the midst of an SEO evaluation. For those of you who don't know, which I did, search engine optimization. We're trying to make sure people can find us, they know about us, and so that's a regular quest for us. But to answer your question, if you can see my screen, you're looking at the home page of our website.
Okay.
We have a live webinar every single Friday.
Okay.
And we try to promote it all the time. And so if they go to the Learn More tab, which again, some of this is being changed, we actually have a recorded past webinar that Allison did that they can watch if they don't want to wait till Friday. but very worst case, they can register for our live webinar that occurs every Friday. And, once they register, then we send them the reminder and they can jump in. And that's something that Allison actually does as well. And so she, runs a live demo of Qbox. She answers questions. And so if they're comfortable with that type of introduction, great. If they want one of us to do a demo at any time, great also. They can, just shoot us an email or give us a call, and we're happy to share our screen and show them what it's about. So.
And is the webinars, I'm assuming, also are how Qbox works with other apps as well, the apps that we can use on Qbox, right?
Well, not see, our general answer to that question, because we help them bounce the file wherever they tell us. So whenever they say they're integrated with some app, I mean, we know across our now 37,000 users, they all, some number are all using, some sort of bank feed or some sort of payroll feed, or they're dealing with T-Sheets or Expensify or somebody. So, what we always try to remind them is, hey, it's just a local file. So all you got to do is make sure that app's pointed to this instance of the file. And when you update your QuickBooks file, make sure it's open and locked. I mean, that's so we don't show any direct integrations. We don't talk specifically about any specific products that integrate, because again, we're just making sure they understand. So we have it on the website here. We list some other vendors. By the way, you can connect with these different apps, because we just want to remind them. It's interesting. Some folks just kind of get that perception in their head. Oh, well, if I do this Qbox thing, I can't talk to anything else anymore. And what we're basically trying to tell them is, no, you can connect to anything. We don't care. It's a local file. Just make sure it's open and locked when you do it. So we do our best to try to remind them of that and tell them that. But the only way we help them with specific applications is if they call support and they say, hey, since I started using Qbox, I can't get my T-Sheets to sync. And so we usually end up sharing their screen. We make sure it's pointed to that file, and that's about the extent of it. So.
Great.
We also, some of you probably noticed on our site, we've had this Qbox Enterprise up for the last few months, and that was something when we market to larger firms, we tripped across one that basically was using the same email address across 24 locations. And so we immediately said, oh crap, we have a problem, because they wanted those separate locations billed and set up separately. So all we do with Enterprise really was create this IT backend that allows them to designate, folders to specific locations, separate locations. It gives them a lot more user friendliness on the back end. So if they are a larger organization, they can now deal with that. They can now set up Qbox to match the needs of multiple locations still connected to that one, primary entity for the company. So the only difference really is it gives them this very expensive back end. And in theory, when we released it and priced it, we said, hey, because we know it's going to take a lot of time to get it set up and walk you through it, we need you to start out paying a 20 folder minimum per month, which is $240 minimum per month. And we've since, just because we've been trying to get it off the ground, we've waived that for some number of folks. But the bottom line is, Enterprise, same cost per folder. It's just we ask for a larger minimum, because the Qbox there is no minimum requirement. But with Enterprise, we ask for a 20 folder minimum requirement, because we know we're going to give them a lot of care and feeding to get up and running, which is still in most cases significantly less than what they spend on some alternatives. So, anyways, that was a long answer to your question. Any other questions? Okay, well, thank you very much again. Those of you who are able to join, again, I am going to send out a link to the recorded version to everyone that wasn't able to join us as well. We cannot thank you enough, again, for your participation as an associate, some of you longer than others, and you've been just such a vital part of our growth and success. In fact, I was talking to Brett before we started today, and I always, for me, this has been such an amazing experience, because I can still remember 7 years ago, being patted on the head and people kind of laughing and scoffing, oh, you stupid desktop people, it's going to go away. And so not that we're arrogant or pompous either, but we've been consistent. We've tried to stick to our commitments and our goals as a company. And here we are, thanks to folks like you with 37,000 users. That's not a small number. So when we're growing, our growth accelerates literally, day by day, month by month. So it's because of your participation that we've been able to achieve those goals, and we can't thank you enough. And always look forward to meeting any of you at some of these shows, or if you happen to be in our neck of the woods in San Jose, we'd love to see you. And so thank you again for your time today. Hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And if you have any questions, again, feel free to email one of us, and we'll do our best to get back to you right away. Thank you so much again. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and we'll look forward to talking to you next quarter.
Bye, Chris.
Take care. Bye. Take care.